Ultra units might look flashy, but pulling them? That's just an absolute nightmare. Hey, Dreamy here, and today I'll be diving into how Ultra Rising banners are rigged, and everybody knows it. Let's start with what breaks most players before they even begin. The abysmal pull rates. Ultra units have absurdly low rates. For one, if you take a look at a character like Goku, you can see how his Z power goes for 0.35% in the Z power list, right? This for 2000 Z power, 0.35% compared to a regular LF, which you can find with a Kaiken Goku's banner, for example, where he's actually going for 0.5. And you may say that that's not too different. Well, that is close, like not super close, but you know, slightly above half. This is slightly above half of what an LF is worth. When I don't think an Ultra is doubly valuable as an LF, so I don't really think halving their rates, or damn near halving their rates, is fair. And then, you know, when you take a look at the second step, where a character has double rates, it goes up to 0.7, which is still kind of a joke, in my opinion. Like, no way is 0.7 okay when you compare it to other characters like Krillin, for example. Like, dude, we're not summoning for these guys. We're not summoning for any of these guys. And that doesn't necessarily mean that this character needs absurd rates or needs a guaranteed step somewhere. I'm just saying that these rates are kind of ridiculous. Even as a maximum, right? In the history of the game, the most we've ever gotten is 1.05% for Frieza's banner, and this is also only available for a limited time. Again, you compare this to LFs and Dokkan's Carnival LRs even, for example. This is just kind of whack, you know? There's like no way they're still like forcing hero units and extreme units to go on these banners and sacrificing ultra rates in the process. You know, and obviously they'll hide it as if, you know, it's because you get 2000 Z power when you pull the character. It's like, no, dude. I'm not asking for 2000 Z power, right? If I can get 1000 Z power for like double the rates every single time and then get 1000 for quadruple the rates at step 2, dude, that would be crazy. Right? We'd be talking about rates somewhere along the lines of 1.4, which is almost triple that of usual LFs. And this obviously leads to shaft. The inevitable shaft that follows leads people to misjudge celebrations. It's just fairly obvious where a lot of times people actually rate anniversaries, Legends festivals negatively, not because they're necessarily bad celebrations, but just because the Ultra banners suck. And it's basically a leading cause in backlash whenever there's an Ultra drop. Whenever someone drops an Ultra and they say that, oh, this character is the most broken unit ever. I mean, it's like, that's not really the case. I feel like if you actually own the unit and had experience using them, had experience not only winning but also losing with them, you'd actually come to the conclusion that the character has their strengths and has their weaknesses and are actually fairly decently made in terms of balance. And so the shaft, especially when you take that into PvP, right? You can feel that gap in performance. You can feel how not owning an Ultra significantly affects your gameplay even if you're good at the game. And this misjudging of celebrations, right? On one hand, the criticism is invalid because you can't judge an entire event, entire celebration like the 7th anniversary, based on your own personal experiences. But on the other hand, the criticism is just as valid as any other because shafting has happened time and time again, simply due to bad rates. And in that time, the game has taken no additional measures to prevent it from happening. And speaking of additional measures, no pity, no protection. There is no pity system whatsoever for Ultra banners since Super Gogeta. Right? You have Broly and Majin Buu right now as well, Kid Buu specifically. Ever since Super Gogeta, the first ever Ultra to ever release, we've never actually seen a pity system for Ultra banners. And then you compare that to LF banners, like so let's say for example, a Kaiken Goku's banner for example, right? They have a pity system. And I've said it in past videos before, this pity system is absolute garbage, but still, a pity system actually exists. And even you compare it to Dokkan as well, where even their like most recent LRs have a pity system. And granted, it's not very achievable for some free-to-play players, but it's far from impossible, especially with the lack of a Dragonstone cap in that game and a Chrono Crystal cap in this game. In this case, with Ultra Rising banners, players can burn over 30,000 Chrono Crystals, and I'm pretty sure someone in my comments once said that they burned 60,000 Chrono Crystals, and these people can sometimes still walk away with basically nothing. Looking at how Ultra units are designed to be meta-defining for at least a couple of months after their release, having no pity system means some players, especially those who spend little to no money on the game, will be having a tougher time in the PvP meta. Not because they don't know how to farm their CC regularly, and not because they mismanage their Chrono Crystals, but simply because there's no safeguards in place for when you get scammed by the game. And all of their stockpiling efforts were effectively wasted, with no results to speak of. This kind of issue in the long term can damage people's excitement for the game. I've heard of many people, especially those who kind of talk about it in my comment section about whenever I make a video on Ultra specifically, where they actually, put in effort before an Ultra releases, they're kind of anticipating it, but then they don't pull the unit, even after saving like tens of thousands of Chrono Crystals, and they end up choosing to take a break and leaving the game after taking too much of a beatdown during their Ultra summons. And you know how I said people who don't pull the Ultra walk away with basically nothing, or waste their CC with no results to speak of? That's another thing. Because even if you don't pull the Ultra, what are you really left with? Useless side characters. Most Ultra banners offer underwhelming or completely irrelevant side sparking units to go along with the Ultra, and even side LFs more specifically, right? You can see how these characters are... Okay, well, Frieza is kind of an exception. Goku and Bardock are not meta in any way. Nappa? Psh, hell no. And then you look at Goku's banner, for example, you see, okay, we have this guy, obviously, the Naked Mole Rat. This guy, hell no, dude, he's nowhere in the meta right now. You look at Bardock, Christ, bro, like, what is this man doing here? And like this guy as well, like this banner is just such a scam, because they give you two Namek Gokus who aren't even the one that you're looking for, right? Horrible, horrible experience. And even then, like the newest Ultra rarely ever drops with a new Sparking or EX unit. And whenever they do, to kind of work alongside them, they can hardly do a good job on their own, right? I can't say that Krillin is in any way a good unit. He just isn't. So all they do as a featured unit, all Krillin does as a featured unit, for example, is create a negative fake out for good summon animations. Compare that to the 7th anniversary LF step-up banners, where you can clearly see how the 1% sparking, in this case, Tien and Chaozu, if we can find them, pretty far down the list here, actually does a good job with a fairly competitive hold on the meta. And is there anything the game does to help your chances of pulling the Ultra? Yes. But what good is there when the banner has a horrible step-up format? The step-up format for Ultra Rising banners actually looks kind of decent and simple, right? Especially if you look at the rates, you look at the modifications for every step. But at their core, they're a straight-up scam. None of these steps meaningfully improve our odds. Going from 0.35, less than 0.5%, to a full percent, to not even a full percent when the rates are doubled is kind of a joke, almost to the point where it doesn't matter. It almost feels just like a regular step. I almost dropped my phone there. It almost feels just like a regular step, like any other on the banner. This actually becomes slightly better with Frieza's banner, I'll admit, because in the second step, you obviously get triple rates instead of double rates, like I said before. But it's only applied for a limited time, and only applied to this one specific banner for this whole 7th anniversary season. Not because the devs care about the player's experience, but to entice the majority of the player base to summon on the less interesting unit. And that's so painfully obvious. The worst part is the fact that these banners only give out 10 Legends tickets. I'm like, look at this, bro, like, what are we supposed to do with this exactly? And they only give out 10 Legends tickets except for the free step. Like, again, what the hell are we supposed to do with this exactly? It is arguably useless, the most unrewarding part of these banners, and I'm questioning why it even exists. It's just, Ultra units are supposed to define the meta, so a bigger question to ask is, why punish the players who just want to have fun and support the game? Closing, how it can change, and why it should change. The current banner system breeds resentment instead of hype. Every modern Ultra banner has been kind of a missed opportunity because the devs haven't really built up the initiative to update and change them in any positive way in all this time. The basic rates for Ultras should be buffed to 0.4 or 0.5 even if they're feeling generous. A good pity system would be like dropping 5 Z power for every step instead of 10 Legends tickets for every paid step. This means that after 7 rotations you're guaranteed to own the unit even if they'll still be at 0 stars. I think this is a great way of using the Z-Power system as a pity. You can see here with units like Golden Frieza, for example, and even Goku and Frieza, right, with 0 out of 100 here. People could do just 4 rotations, for example, and get 60 Z-Power saved up. And then, when the banner comes back, they can collect the final 40 to actually unlock the unit. At 0 stars even, it takes advantage of the way Ultra Rising banners always come back after their first release kind of blows over, and it works as a consistent long-term pity everyone can keep track of very easily in their character list. Because I feel like Z powers are just heavily underutilized in Dragon Ball Legends as of right now. We're given so much right away when I think it can be easily given away in small amounts, and that could lead to you actually building up the character from nothing. I think it's a much more rewarding experience, and in terms of actually being a good PD system, right, it works, because this means that you have a way of saving for the long term. Namely, when the Ultra banner actually comes back, specifically the Ultra that you're gunning for. And I think the step format could and should also receive a massive improvement. Maybe triple rates consistently on the second step for every third, fifth, and seventh rotation during the banner's active period. So this rotation count resets whenever the banner goes away and then comes back. This would create a bigger incentive for players to go all the way to try and unlock the character with a full 7 rotations. Also, what's so wrong with Ultra banners featuring at least one of the most recent LFs? They don't have to stick to an exact pattern, but an LF from 2 or even 1 month prior would take an Ultra Rising banner's value way up. Imagine Goku's banner featuring Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta from the 7th anniversary as a surprise, or Frieza's banner featuring, let's say for example, LF Vegeta from part 2 of the 7th anniversary. That would be crazy, right? And that would make the banner so much better. And then from there, why do they still include hero units? I still don't get it. Like, you could be saving these rates. You could be giving away these rates for Ultra units, but they don't. That you could be giving these Ultras for at least the sparking units, right? But no. They keep putting hero units into these banners when we're talking about a game with 4 rarities, which it just doesn't really make any sense in terms of why they're still here and, you know, what kind of value they really provide for banners like these. The changes I mentioned in this video are good for both player health and for the long-term success of the game. Because when players know that they have something to work towards, a proper PD system with collecting Z power like I said before, and with a better step format that's more rewarding, with a list of characters being featured that are actually much more competitive, these banners will actually have decent value beyond units that are like basically the only chase characters on these banners. And so I feel like these changes are necessary, not just because, you know, I got shafted and I'm feeling very bitter about it, but also because the game has been giving way for summonable Ultras for so long, and I think it's about damn time they start implementing changes to make it more friendly to the players. But what do you think? Comment how you think Ultra Rising banners could improve. And if you want to see my ranking of every single Ultra in the game, you can check out the video on your left. And if you want to see what I think were the real mistakes that ruined the 7th anniversary, you can check out the video on your right. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Bye, thanks for watching, never stay perfect, always get better. Peace.